All right. So, hello, welcome everyone to the week 3 of the penetration testing internship program that is being hosted by Hacktify Cybersecurity. My name is Rohit, and I'm super excited to be with all of you today in addressing for the week 3 of the internship program. I would like to welcome all of you who have successfully demonstrated their skill sets and determination as well as dedication to successfully reach till the week 3. So once again, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all of the members for successfully reaching till week 3. I can totally understand that you are one of those who have progressively reached till here by successfully proving, submitting your reports, and moving forward till here. So, once again, heartfelt congratulations to all of the participants. Now, we have in this week two very critical topics to understand that is going to be very, very important for you during your learning tenure for your penetration testing, engagements, or bug bounty hunting kind of activities that you would be doing. So for week 3 participants, we are going to learn about two very important class of vulnerabilities. The first one is CSRF, and the second one is CORS. So CSRF stands for cross-site request forgery. So this is the full form of the first given class of issue. The second one is CORS, which stands for cross-origin resource sharing. So let us understand about both of them briefly, and then eventually we'll move on to Q&A session, wherein participants can feel free to ask any questions that they have. Okay, so let's understand about what is cross-site request forgery attack. So to understand this attack, participants, let us understand that what are the key requirements for this attack to happen. So there is going to be an attacker. So I'm just going to write here. There is going to be the client. Let's say the client here in our case is Bob. And there is going to be the server. Let us assume the server is bank.com, for instance. So let's say the attacker is Rohit. So Rohit, the client or the user is Bob, and the server is bank.com. Now, if the client wants to log in maybe on bank.com to check his or her current balance, etc., they can do this simply by sending a login request wherein they will send a username and password. Once a username and password has been sent to the server would successfully validate that the username and password is correct, and the server would give back the response with a cookie. So this is how the client would be logged in successfully. Now, how does the attack starts over here? So here, participants, the attacker is going to craft a malicious HTML page or a link which he is going to send to the client. Now, as our first step that we have understood that the client is already logged in into his or her account, if the client tries to click or interact with the link that the attacker has sent, what kind of link? This link is going to perform a specific action. Let's say the attacker has sent the client a link that upon clicking changes the email address of the user. So let's assume the client email address is bob@gmail.com. The attacker is now going to send a POC link to the client, which once the client clicks, the request is successfully sent to the server. And as the server receives the request from the client and the request says, update the email address from bob@gmail.com for the current user to rohit@gmail.com. So the server would successfully fulfill that request. And as the server fulfills the request successfully, the attacker has now successfully able to update his controlled or his chosen email address for the client's account. This way, the attacker has now updated one of the important fields of the user's profile, which is email. Now, as the email has been updated, the attacker simply needs to go to the bank.com website and do a reset password for that email address. So the attacker can use a forgot password feature, put the email that he has just updated into the victim's account, send a reset password email, and as the email address is already owned by attacker, he's going to now reset the password and successfully do an account takeover. So this is one such example, participants, where attacker has demonstrated a CSRF vulnerability in which the attacker was successfully able to update the victim's email address on his profile by sending a POC link to the user. Okay. Now, there can be a lot of other fields of the victim's profile or account which can be updated. For example, phone number or first name, last name, etc. In addition to this, the attacker can also perform a harmful action. It could be a transaction, let's say. The attacker sends a crafted malicious GET request or a POST request in a link form to the client, which is to send, let's say, $100 to the attacker's account. So there could be transactions or any kind of action as well that can take place with the help of the CSRF attack. So this was CSRF. Now let us quickly understand about the CORS attack as well. And then we'll see a quick POC and demonstration to understand this attack vector as well. Okay, so for course to understand this, let's take an example of client, which is Bob once again, the server bank.com, and the attacker who is Rohit. Now here, interestingly, participants, as the client has already sent a successful username and password request to the server, the client is logged in here into his or her account. So let us just put this here with an arrow this side, which says cookie. So as the user has successfully logged in, the cookie is being sent from the server back to the client. So the username and password was correct of the client, was sent to the server responded with a valid cookie. So this is how a usual authentication mechanism or an authentication flow works or functions. Now, participants, let's see interestingly how this attack starts. So the CORS attack or cross-origin resource sharing attack is a trust relationship or trust-based relationship attack between the server and the attacker. Here, the client is totally unknown about this attack being happening onto his or her account. So let us see how this would work. So let us assume that the client's URL bar contains a URL which looks like this when he is logged in, which is bank.com/profile user equals to 1. Let us assume this is how the get-based URL looks like for the client, which is Bob, once he's successfully logged in. Now, the attacker is going to send a request to the server. And the request is going to be saying this, that, hey server, bank.com, I am a trusted origin from where I'm sending a request. Please trust me. The server is going to say, okay, I trust you, attacker, that you are a trusted origin. That is attacker.com, let's say here in this case. And as the server trusts the arbitrary attacker supplied domain name as origin, the server is now going to, as trusts this, is now going to send back the data. Data of what? Data of whatever the attacker has requested. So the attacker is now going to send a request of this URL to the server. And along with this, the attacker is going to send an origin header saying that please trust attacker.com. And as the attacker sends this given request to the server and adds origin as attacker.com, if the server is vulnerable means if the server accepts any third party origins and trusts them, then the server is going to send a response. And in the response, the server is going to send two headers. That is access control allow origin. And the second is access control allow credentials, ACAO and ACAC. In ACAO, which is access control allow origin, if you see that attacker.com is sent back in the response, that means the server has successfully trusted the attacker supplied malicious domain in the origin. And if the ACAC, which is access control allow credentials, is set to true, this means the server is also not only trusting the origin, but is also setting the credentials to true, which means the data exchange will take place between the server and the attacker. Participants, did you notice something here? This is a complete server-side attack, which means the client is totally unknown about the activities happening between the server and the attacker. The attacker spoofed or sent an attacker control origin to the server. And due to the misconfiguration in the server accepted the malicious origin, that is attacker.com, and sent this header to the attacker, telling the attacker that I trust this, and also send the credentials to true. That means the data exchange can also take place. And here the attacker is now requesting the user one details, which is the user Bob. So in this manner, participants, the attacker successfully exploits the CORS vulnerability on the server. And as the vulnerability is now being exploited, the attacker would be able to utilize this information for his personal needs. Participants, let me show you a quick report for your reference so that you get an idea about how CORS works. So we are going to see a CORS HackerOne Zomato report for the same to get a fair idea about how this attack was done. So let us see this bug type reported on Zomato.com. CORS misconfiguration could lead to disclosure of sensitive information. The bug was reported on October 2018 by the security researcher, which goes by this name to Zomato. This vulnerability fall under medium severity with a CVSS score of 5.9 and a bounty of $550 was awarded for the same. Now, we'll skip the description because we already have understood now briefly about what CORS vulnerability is, and let us jump to steps to reproduce. Now, if you see the POC1, we are able to see a request. A get method request is being sent to an endpoint, which is Abu Dhabi, with the host Zomato. Participants, if you look carefully here in this origin header, then you can see developersxzomato.com is a domain name which is not associated with zomato.com. This domain name is actually controlled by the attacker. So the same thing that we discussed, which was attacker.com here in our case, while understanding for CORS, here we are able to see that the attacker has taken an example, developersxzomato.com. If we carefully examine the response, then if you see these two headers, then in these two headers, we are able to confirm that ACAO sets developer@zomato.com and ACAC sets it to true. These are the two conditions that we just understood a few moments ago to be confirmed for making the website vulnerable to CORS. So we have the similar kind of situation arised over here. Now, due to which we are able to confirm that the target is likely vulnerable, and now it's time to exploit it. So to exploit it, the researcher has actually taken up that domain name. It is not mandatory in most of the cases that we take a domain name like this, edge case where the origin header is required to have a keyword Zomato in it, because of which the security researcher have taken up a domain name like this. We can do the same POC on our local host as well, or maybe utilizing any tool which exposes our local host to publicly exposed web server like ngrok or SSH tunnels, etc. can also do. But to demonstrate the POC, you can simply do it on your local host web server as well. All right. So the researcher is going to host a simple AJAX request or a JavaScript request, as we can see over here, wherein a GET request is being sent to an endpoint, as we can see, and the response is going to be received back in the form of an alert box. So we already have this POC that we have created. This POC file will be shared with you on your Discord channel as well, which you can host it on your domain, or you can simply put it into an HTML file and you can click on exploit. So once you click on exploit, you should be able to see all the information of the user available. So here we can see on the domain name, the POC has been hosted. We don't see information currently here because the user is not logged in. And as we understood, for this attack to happen, as well as the previous attack, which is CSRF to happen, the user, which is the client, Bob, should be logged in. So let's see this next POC, CORS 2. Yes, excellent. In this POC, we are able to see that the information for the user is currently being exfiltrated. So let's try to see the user information. Status true, name AHT911, which is the username of the test username of the security researcher, is new false. The user ID of the user, status success, count 0, logged in true. Other information like the results that might have been searched for, or specific food types, city ID, city name, other information as we can see over here. So specific information pertaining to the given user can be obtained by the attacker in this case, as we have understood here. So this was a classic example of how a CORS vulnerability works and how it could be exploited into a given web application. Now, participants, as I said, you can simply go to hacktify.in and search for CORS.html, where you should be able to find the exploit POC page that you can utilize for your exploit purposes or for creating a POC. Let us see the page source. In the page source, you can see it's a simple HTML code, and here is the JavaScript. You need to change the target over here. So you can change whatever target you want. Here is an example dummy URL added over here, which you can change it and host it on your web application or your local host server. Once you do that, it should be ready for you to start testing. Yes, so this was all about CORS. We've also understood about a CSRF. Now let us see what are the mitigations of both the vulnerability. So for CORS mitigations, you might have understood that from the attack chain, each request that is being sent or exchanged between the client and the server, each request that is exchanged, I'll repeat, that is exchanged between client and server should be unique or uniquely protected. So it should be uniquely protected. That means each request is going to have a unique ID assigned to it. A unique ID, which can be called as a CSRF token. A CSRF token, hence, is a type of a token or a type of a value which is dynamic in nature, which keeps on changing with each subsequent request that is being done between the client and the server. This way, how would this help in mitigation, participants? Because if the attacker sends any request to the client to click on it, even though the client will click on it, the server will refuse it. Why? Because the server will say, hey, I was not expecting the current request that you have just sent me, which the attacker has sent the client, or the client has clicked on it, because it does not contain the unique CSRF token. As there is no CSRF token over here, the server is not going to process that request and rather reject that request. As the request will be rejected, the request will not fulfill, hence the attack chain will not complete. Hence, we will be able to eliminate or mitigate a CSRF vulnerability over there. Now, discussing about coarse mitigation. So in coarse mitigation, participants, the server the server is going to allow only whitelisted, whitelisted, or you can say trusted domains, which can fetch information or cross-domain communication. Okay, so the cross-domain communication should only be allowed with the whitelisted or the trusted domains, not with any random domain like attacker.com or developersxzomato.com, etc. Okay, so I hope, participants, that this is useful for you. There would be more in addition to this learning material that will be shared in the group where you can see and read about it, about both the attacks. And there are very interesting and amazing labs that has been created for participants by the Hacktify team for you to practice and learn about more different types of test cases for both a CSRF attack and CORS attack. I believe firmly that participants would be taking advantage of the lab platform that has been created and hosted for all of the participants. Make sure that you take complete advantage of this, which will be a value add-on for your learning purposes. Okay, then that's it from my side for today, participants. Please do not hesitate in uh, reaching out the internship moderators for any of your questions or queries that you have. They would be very happy to support you in the entire internship program for any of your doubts. Please make sure you always check the announcements channel for any new updates or timelines to constantly make sure that you are in line or on page with the internship requirements. And in addition to that, I was very happy to see participants being active on the LinkedIn platform, because LinkedIn platform is one of the great platform to demonstrate or showcase your skill sets to recruiters, because recruiters keep a continuous eye on this platform for hiring purposes. Trust me, participants, I have seen a lot of recruiters taking advantage of LinkedIn activities and engagements to identify key students based on their skill sets. So the more activeness you show on this platform, the more likelihood and chances increases of you being shortlisted by recruiters or keeping a continuous eye on you and your uh, learning that you do. So I'm very happy to see participants posting about their learning and uh, certificates of completion of week 2 successfully. So congratulations to all of you once again. Make sure, I've also seen participants who have posted but not uh, tagged Hacktify. So make sure you tag Hacktify, you tag me, you tag Shifa, and our team members. so that we are aware about your constant learning and progress that you do. In addition to this, one last very important thing that I want to mention from my side to all participants is that during the week 3, uh, there would be more shortlisting and dropping off as we are moving forward to the last week. So make sure that you complete all your designated tasks on time, be respectful to all of your community members that are your colleagues, as well as all the members who have joined the internship program with you. I wish you all the best from my side and look forward to be interacting with you more for the upcoming week. With this, I would like to summarize or sum up over here and wish all of you great learning for week 3 and look forward for your amazing, successful learning and completion for this given week. With this, I would like to pause over here. Thank you so much and please take care.